Yeah, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We've got a great crowd. All right. Good evening. I'm Tom Donohue. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome you all to the Chamber for this very special reception honoring His Highness the Emir of the State of Qatar.
You sent me the press release.
I'd also like to thank Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and Commerce Secretary Wilbur for joining us this evening. And finally, a warm welcome to the rest of the distinguished delegation from Qatar and our member companies who are in attendance. You know, while Qatar may be small in size, its economic impact and importance to the United States business community are huge. The United States is Qatar's largest foreign investor and its largest source of foreign imports. And as everyone knows, Qatar holds a significant investments in the United States. In fact, it was in this room in 2015 that the Qatar Investment Authority announced they would invest over $35 billion in the United States, and a figure that has now grown to $45 billion. One of these investments is City Center, an impressive new development right in the heart of the nation's capital. QIA has also invested in key real estate developments in New York City, like the Hudson Yards and the Empire State Building. These projects not only help drive growth in the U.S. economy, but they also create jobs for U.S. workers. The government of Qatar has also taken important steps to enhance their business environment to attract more American companies. They have changed regulations like their foreign direct investment laws so that multinational companies can have 100% ownership in key sectors such as energy, mining, IT, healthcare, and tourism. They now allow visa-free travel for citizens of 80 different countries, making Qatar one of the most open countries for travel in the region. In addition to its economic importance, Qatar is a key strategic ally. In fact, it is the home of the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. It is clear that the U.S.-Qatar relationship is beneficial for both sides, and there is potential for even greater engagement and cooperation. So I'm very pleased that His Highness the Emir is sharing some of his time with us tonight. By the way, let me say, it appears from everything I've heard, everything I've seen, and everything that's in the press, he had a great meeting today with our President. We look forward to hearing his vision for how Qatar and the U.S. can play a role in the most bigger way. So let me again thank all of our attendees tonight and the participants for joining us, and a special thank you to our sponsors, ConocoPhillips, ExxonMobil, Lockheed Martin, and Occidental Petroleum. We appreciate their strong support, not just for this event, but for the overall U.S.-Qatar relationship. So ladies and gentlemen, it's now my honor to introduce the Emir of the State of Qatar. This is the second time that we've had the honor of hosting him in this very room. Since assuming his role of Emir in 2013, His Highness has significantly raised Qatar's profile on the international stage, promoting large-scale economic development and investments in energy, infrastructure, healthcare, and education. His Highness currently heads the Qatar Investment Authority Board of Directors and has been instrumental in strengthening the U.S.-Qatar commercial and investment relationship. As one of the youngest heads of state in the world, His Highness is forward-thinking and an excellent friend and partner to the U.S. business community. Your Highness, we are honored to have you join us this evening, and we look forward to your remarks.
thank you for coming tonight to celebrate the economic partnership between the United States and Qatar. I see many old friends here. I'm not gonna, I asked to speak and then asked to, to mention a few words, and I have some very interesting numbers here about, the trade and the economy partnership between both countries. We have more than 500 US companies working in Doha. Well, the minister said 500, but half an hour ago he told me it's 650. So I don't know if he's trying to please you guys, and but really, we have more than 500 US companies working in Qatar. Our economic partnership is more than 125 billion. We have plans to double this number in the near future. But most importantly, I think, I want to pass a message. I want to thank everybody here. I want to thank our loyal friends for standing by Qatar in the difficult moments. And we really appreciate that, and thank you very much for standing by Qatar. As many of you know, that US business are a treasured part of Qatar's success and Qatar's development. And this has been a win-win for Qatar and the US business alike. Qatar is the fastest growing economy in the Middle East. Qatar aims to double its $125 billion partnership with US companies in America in the coming years. And we are honored to do it hand in hand with you. So thank you very much for having me here again. And I'm very honored and happy to be here. And thank you, Tom, for your nice words. Thank you, and have a good evening.
It is a pleasure to welcome His Highness the Emir of Qatar and his delegation, including so many from Qatar's private sector. We are honored to have with us tonight Secretary Mnuchin and Secretary Ross. The US-Qatar Business Council is proud to join the US Chamber of Commerce in co-hosting this event, and grateful for the support of our sponsors, Exxon, ConocoPhillips, Occidental, and Lockheed Martin. Sheikh Ahmed Al-Thani, Qatar's Minister of Economy and Commerce, kicked off last week a nationwide year-long effort to identify business opportunities for Qatar in the U.S. and to encourage Americans to do business there. Appropriately, the business forum began in Miami, one of our country's most international cities. Most of the businessmen and women who attended in Miami and today in Washington knew that Qatar was hosting the World Cup in 2022 and that Qatar had important investments in the U.S. and was looking for more. But they learned that the commercial relationship is potentially much broader. For instance, Qatar Development Bank not only offers inducements for foreign SMEs and entrepreneurs, but also offers incentives for firms who want to set up shop in Qatar to participate in the reconstruction of the region. They learned that Qatar Petroleum had complied with 100% of its contracts despite disruption in the region, including to its closest neighbors. They learned about reforms to the labor laws to protect foreign workers and about the liberalization of rules for foreign ownership of local companies. They learned about the success of Qatar Airways in tying together the West with the growing markets of South Asia, and they had the opportunity to seek clarification not only from government officials, but also from Qatar's private sector about reports they saw in the press which might have given them pause about doing business there. So these commercial contacts hopefully will prosper over the next few months. But Qatar supports broader U.S. economic interests. Qatar's gas industry works with America's largest energy firms, and these partnerships earn healthy returns for American shareholders. Qatar supplies natural gas to our closest allies in Asia, which in turn are huge markets for American products. Because of astonishing productivity gains, the U.S. is on the verge of becoming the world's largest oil producer, erasing memories of gas lines and supply disruptions in the Middle East and elsewhere. But the United States will always need allies we can count on to be reliable suppliers of energy, to partner with U.S. firms, and to rigorously adhere to their international obligations. And then jobs. Americans want to see new jobs created, not just foreigners buying American assets. We know the sale of Boeing civilian and military aircraft to Qatar has generated hundreds of thousands of jobs in the U.S. Qatar's purchases of defense equipment, which have increased 244% in 1 year, have kept American production lines open. If the Golden Pass project in Texas moves forward, it has the potential to create 45,000 jobs over its lifetime. More difficult to measure is how many American new jobs will be created by a privately funded real estate project in New York, or in the restaurants and stores adjacent to Washington's bustling city center, or the well-paying jobs generated by defense subcontractors in all 50 states. But we can quantify Qatar's effect on the jobs of some of our most valued citizens, namely the 11,000 men and women who are stationed at Al-Thani Air Base outside of Qatar's capital of Doha. At a time when the United States is pressing most of our allies to spend 2% of their GDP on defense, Qatar is spending 5% and is sourcing 80% of its defense needs in the U.S. After investing $8 billion already in the base, Qatar's Minister of Defense announced in January a $3 billion upgrade in housing and recreational facilities for Americans and allied personnel living on the base. Al-Thani has been key to America's efforts against ISIS, to U.S. efforts in Afghanistan, and to the protection of international shipping lanes. This expansion will not only generate impressive services and construction contracts for U.S. companies, but it will also provide the housing to enable Qatari military families to live side by side with their American counterparts, forming personal relationships that will deepen our alliance for years to come. So welcome tonight. We hope this event will broaden the economic relations between the U.S. and Qatar and promote business between the two private sectors to the benefit of both. Thank you very much.
Oh no.
It is now our pleasure to introduce our next speaker, the Secretary of Commerce of the United States, Mr. Wilbur.
Good evening, and thank you for inviting me to speak. It's a pleasure to be here with Your Highness Al-Thani, U.S. cities, to strengthen bilateral trade and investment. And hundreds of American companies, even though there might be some confusion exactly how many hundred, are working on projects large and small in Qatar. And the country ranked in the top third of the Heritage Foundation ranking released this week of countries' economic freedom. Qatar already has reduced its economic dependence on hydrocarbons to 48% of GDP. And as it seeks to diversify further to fulfill Vision 2030, our team of Commerce Department Foreign Commercial Service officers in Doha is supporting U.S. companies eager to provide Qatar with world-class technology, equipment, and services. Vision 2030's 4 pillars, economic, social, human, and environmental development, will propel Qatar into a future that is very bright and very more balanced than at present. But it already has the highest GDP per citizen in the world, $129,700 in 2016. And it has amassed an extraordinary collection, or really collections, of both Islamic and internationally renowned art and artifacts, including an enormous bronze bear sculpture at the Hamad International Airport, one of my favorite objects. Its new seaport already has handled 1.5 million containers, but it has vastly more capacity for future development. Qatar also has lots of infrastructure underway to prepare for the World Cup in 2022. And as our countries continue to deepen our economic relationship, we would welcome a delegation from Qatar to our 2018 Select USA Investment Summit to be held June 20th to 22nd here in Washington. Companies from your country would have the opportunity to meet with economic development officials from all 50 states. This summit brings together over 3,000 government leaders, investors, and members of the media for 3 days of networking, education, and deal-making. Last year, only 2 representatives from Qatar attended, likely because the summit was inadvertently scheduled during the holy period of Ramadan. That is not the case this year, and His Highness has promised a much more robust Qatari attendance this June. As companies throughout the globe can attest, opening an operation in the United States connects them with leaders in technology and innovative business systems and allows companies to stay competitive and relevant in global markets. For both the U.S. and Qatar, trade, tourism, and investment are key to growing our economies, creating jobs, and assuring a vibrant, long-term, and healthy relationship. I have to personally thank them for one of their investments. As I was taking this job in Washington, I had an apartment I wanted to sell in New York, and they had just built a very glamorous apartment building next door, which added to the value of my sale. Thank you very much.
Classic.
Thank you very much, Secretary Ross. It's our pleasure now to introduce the Secretary of the Treasury, Mnuchin.
Tom, thank you for hosting this great event. It is a great honor to be here with you, Your Highness. I have the great pleasure to come visit you in Doha in October, and I look forward to coming back and seeing you later this year. I want to thank you and your team for the warmness that you had with us when I was there, and I hope we've reciprocated. It was a pleasure to be with you today with President Trump at the White House. I know this has been a very, very important relationship between our two countries for a very long period of time, but I think it's an especially important relationship with the relationship that you've developed with President Trump, and I know how much he supports you and your country. I also just want to comment. I wish we had many more partners like you. We have a trade surplus, you invest in our country, we have a military base, and you work on terrorist financing with us. So thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your entire team, and I look forward to many more years working with you.
Thank you, Secretary Mnuchin. It's next our great pleasure to introduce His Excellency Sheikh Ahmed bin Jassim Al-Thani, the Minister of Economy and Commerce of Qatar.
Your Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al-Thani, the Emir of the State of Qatar, Honorable Secretary and Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. We are honored to be in this prestigious gathering at the presence of His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al-Thani, the Emir of the State of Qatar, during his official visit to the United States, and would like to thank the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the U.S. Business Council for organizing this event, and to have everybody with us today from government officials, business community, and civil society. And it is with my great pleasure to mention that Washington D.C. is the second stop of a Qatar Economic Roadshow in the United States, an opportunity to highlight how the close economic relationship between our two countries has become. Your Highness, honorable attendees, international trade and investment form a key part of Qatar's future growth and diversification, and the United States is one of Qatar's most valued and largest global partner. In the last 5 years, the trade volume in goods reached $24 billion, with 84% of a trade balance in favor of the United States, equivalent to $20 billion. The US is also our first destination for import, where 16% of Qatar imports come from United States in 2017. As of now, yes, Your Highness, there are 650 American companies has been established in Qatar. And just an indication that this number keep growing day after day, despite the blockade in our country. And 117 U.S. company is 100% owned by U.S. citizens. Add to that, 55 U.S. companies operating in Qatar Financial Center. Qatar has been increasing its investment in the United States over many years, creating hundreds of thousands of jobs across America. These include partnership with the numerous American companies such as ExxonMobil, Boeing, ConocoPhillips, Raytheon, and many others. More than 15,000 American citizens are living in Qatar, where 5,000 highly skilled individuals are currently working in the private sector. Qatar Airways alone will provide $92 billion boost to the US economy through purchasing of hundreds of American aircraft, a deal that supports more than 527,000 jobs. The total second number. The total worth of confirmed export and order is $146 billion, which is generating 1 million American jobs that depend on doing business with Qatar. In addition to this, Qatar Investment Authority pledged to invest $45 billion in a period from 2015 to 2020, a $10 billion which was dedicated to infrastructure sector. The investment program is moving along this target, taking into consideration that $45 billion is form 23% of Qatar annual GDP. In the oil and gas sector, Qatar Petroleum invests with its partner billions of dollars in the LNG plant in Texas, which is estimated to generate 45,000 jobs over the life of the plant. The Qatari private sector has also heavily invested in the United States with more than $5 billion in the field of technology, hospitality, real estate, and household retail. Qatar also spent more than $200 million in a medical and healthcare for its citizens in the United States, and also 1,200 Qatari students studying in the United States. Your Highness, honorable attendees, you are of course aware of the blockade that was imposed in our nation in June last year, a move that aimed to undermine Qatar's position as an economically independent and separate state. If you have not visited Qatar during this period, you may be wondering how we have coped with these various challenges that we faced. Please allow me to update you. The reality is that Qatar has emerged stronger and more independent than ever before, as we have worked to increase our trade relation around the world, including with the United States. It is, of course, important to note that Qatar's strategic decision to make its economy more open to the world was taken many years ago. Without any doubt, the blockade has presented us with an opportunity to speed up this process. Ladies and gentlemen, we have seized this opportunity. Qatar successfully established a direct commercial route with a number of strategic hubs around the world, and trade has been diverted to Qatar's major trading partner. In addition to this, Qatar is utilizing its available high-standard facility and high-tech logistics in mobilizing its regional agreement with Kuwait, Iraq, Oman, Turkey, Pakistan, Central Asia, and others, to expand its trade activity throughout establishing a sea fleet that connect Qatar with its major sea and land trading partner in the world, targeting a market of 400 million population in its first stage. The Qatari economy continued its positive performance during the past year, which confirmed that it was not much affected by the blockade imposed in the state of Qatar, due to the wise policies adopted by the state, which stimulate all sectors of economy to achieve increased productivity. Last year, the total GDP increased to 220 billion US dollar compared with 2016 of 218 billion US dollar. Meanwhile, the annual real growth rate GDP at a constant price reached around 2% in 2017, which is better than many analysts has expected under the blockade. This impressive performance, set against a challenging regional backdrop, has been recognized internationally. According to the latest report released by the World Bank, Qatar real GDP growth is expected to increase to 2.8% in 2018, highest among GCC countries. Meanwhile, Qatar foreign trade also demonstrated a remarkable growth in 2017. Our total foreign trade volume increased by 16% in 2017, reaching 103 billion US dollar compared to 89 billion US dollar. At the same time, our export was up by 19% to 68 billion US dollar compared to 57 billion US dollar in 2016. And our total trade surplus increased by an astonishing 40%, from $25 billion to $35 billion. Globally, Qatar ranked as the first in terms of providing a safe business environment, according to the report published by the World Economic Forum. All these positive indicators show that we overcome the blockade, which enhanced Qatar economic competitiveness. Your Highness, honorable attendees, our relation is not only about trade and investment. It goes way further than this. We also recognize that our mutually benefit relationship is all about our people, helping one another to overcome challenges and capitalize on opportunity. Qatar donated 100 million US dollar to help victims of Hurricane Katrina, contributing to community development and reconstruction of house and hospitals. Moreover, 30 million US dollar in aid was donated to hurricane following Hurricane Harvey. Furthermore, Qatari private sector is also playing a major role in the area of US corporate social responsibility. For example, a privately funded Al-Faisal Without Border Foundation has launched a project to help and rehabilitate American ex-convict. Your Highness, honorable attendees, building in all these facts to take our economic relationship to a new horizon and to extend the connectivity of the people and the business of both countries, we have launched an economic roadshow that targets 10 states with the first phase taken in Miami, Florida, Washington, D.C., North Carolina, and South Carolina. And there are around 200 high-level Qataris businessmen and officials in the U.S. right now, looking forward to foster partnership between them and their counterpart in the U.S. through an economic forum and business-to-business meeting. We have also launched a showcasing exhibition that highlight Qatar heritage and culture, as well as major achievement investment in the United States. To conclude, I would like to reiterate Qatar's commitment to our vital strategic economic partnership with the United States. Your Highness, honorable guests, honorable attendees, I wish Qatar, United States, a success and prosperity. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank His Highness for his presentation. I was just telling the Secretary of Commerce, Your Highness, that we've got to get one of these kind of presentations. I mean, he'd be smarter, I'd be smarter, we'll all look a lot better. We thought you did a great job, Mr. Commerce Secretary. You made the point, and I really enjoyed it. I also want to thank our distinguished guests, speakers, sponsors, and their continued commitment to this relationship. I invite you now, we're going to turn the lights up, to stay. His Highness is going to get around and shake a few hands and catch up with the people that would like to talk to him. I wish you a fine evening. I thank you again for everything you and your colleagues have done. It's been a great night at the Chamber. Thank you.
Oh, wow.